victory. Our enemies are dust at our feet.
Fucking hell. It's over.
And here I was, worried I'd become some grotesque, deformed beast. I would say no offense meant, but, well, look at you.
And rightly so. You are better now than you have ever been.
I have crossed blades with countless warriors among the tears of Selûne, but none so resilient as you.
The Githyanki leave, at last. I feared they would make this world their own. Will you go with them, Lae'zel? You would surely be heralded as a champion of your kind.
The Netherbrain is dead. To slay a Geich was my sworn duty. I must call out to Tu'narath. My ascension's at hand. You are an honorable ally. I thought I would carry you. In truth, you oft carried me. I won't forget it. Silence now. I will speak the right. Vlakith Barnasin. Vlakith Ixaith. Vlakith Tri-Nasaji.
You quiver in spite of yourself. Lae'zel shouts to the astral plane, seeking an answer. And before long, she has one.
A red dragon to carry me to Tu'narath. The Queen's covenant is fulfilled.
You look on as Lae'zel soars to an uncertain fate. With the Githyanki gone, there's nothing left but the silence of the city, smoldering, waiting to be rebuilt. You are a mind flayer, the very thing you sought to eradicate. Whatever self you possess is quickly ebbing away. Your friends and enemies alike are ripe for manipulation. And if not manipulation, then consumption. Soon you will not be able to trust yourself at all. You will be a monstrosity beyond redemption. Or not. Perhaps you are unique among Illithid kind. Perhaps you will retain enough of who you are to resist your nature. A rogue mind flayer. Like the Emperor, the risk is certainly yours to take. Will you? Your fate will be what you make of it. Now you are your own master. But it seems that Gale's mind is elsewhere.
The crown. It's somewhere in the Giontha. If I salvage the stones, I can reforge it. once I have, I'll return it to Mystra. She'll cure me of my affliction, and I'll finally be free. I'm sure. A wise man learns from his mistakes and strives not to repeat them. I shall bring the crown to Mystra. If this adventure has taught me anything, it's that there are things in this world far more valuable than power. Besides, growing quite fond of this merry band of ours, but I'd quite like to see what happens to it. I'm sure Mystra will summon me soon enough, but until then, I propose we celebrate our victory the mortal way, with a drink in our hands and reckless abandon in our hearts.
Who wins the bet? Wizards are not entirely boring. Well, my friend, what do you say?
Quite right.
Easier said than done, I fear. You may find yourself welcome in some circles, but set upon in far more.
Their concerns are so trifling, are they not? Look at you. You're glorious. The greatest ally I could have wished for. You know, this partnership doesn't have to end here. You and I could do wonderful things. We could rebuild the Knights of the Shield and run it together. What do you say? To business, then. We have much to discuss.
It's hard to say what your companions make of you now. Their faces betray only confusion. Though one face is notably missing. Karlach.
We did it, soldier. The city's going to be all right. And so are you. Engine's finally cooked. Held on just long enough. So, how'd I do? For you. And for the city, and for myself, and blah blah. But most of all, for you. Careful! Hot! How'd I do? Spectacular! Oh, it's the one thing I can't beat, isn't it? Same below as above. I love you. You, more than anything, I saw. Oh, God! Goodbye, son. Goodbye, sea. Goodbye. I'm ready. I stand back. I'm going to.
It's over. And it's all because of you. You, who were destined to become a thrall. Thanks to you, there will be no Illithid empire, no death god's tyranny. You have earned your place amongst the legends of the Sword Coast. You are the saviors of Baldur's Gate. Since the Netherbrain fell, you have continued to evolve. Thought is action, action is thought, speech is difficult. Your mind has voyaged to the limits of existence, communing with entities unique and wondrous. But something always calls it back. Back to Faerun, back to yourself, back to the beginning. The time before you became what you are. When your tadpole first sang in your mind, you are back there once again when a voice comes to you. Withers, who you know so well. It is time, he says, to meet with your allies once again. You dream of them often. And now you will see if your dreams have become their reality.
Thou wert called here, some from above, some below. For with thine bond, together thou hast kept the wheel of fate spinning when it threatened to halt. Though thou wert drawn far apart in the months after the collapse of the Absolute, tonight, fate renews thy bond once more. Thou shouldst take care to preserve it. It is a great weapon, wielded in the hand of good. Go. Know one another once more.
Oh, I've seen every form of the realm. I just know what I like.
There you are.
Just to see what the rest.
Starting to wonder if you'd show up. What can I say? We shared something extraordinary, even if we didn't always see eye to eye. Let's leave old squabbles in the past. Oh, come here, will you? It's been forever. You feel a little more substantial than before. Less camping and scrounging off the land, I take it? Fair point. I'm not quite sure this evening's refreshments will be to your tastes, but hopefully the company will make up for it. I'm glad you seem well. Trudy. Wandering, mostly. The adventuring life is almost a tonic when you're not constantly threatened by brain monsters and cultists. I can finally see the world beyond the cloister. Peace and quiet will still be there waiting once I've lived a little. Though, don't get me wrong, I've got a little cottage with a garden and animals in mind already. One of my first stops was the House of the Moon in Waterdeep. It's the largest temple of Selûne in existence. It seemed like the perfect spot to reflect on my parents, on where they came from. And where I came from too, I suppose. Hard to imagine, isn't it? Me, of all people, in the lair of the Moon Witch herself. God, your truest act of heroism was putting up with all that char and drivel I was spouting for so long. We had tea on his balcony. Tara even deigned to sit on my lap for a while. You know, I think entire forests must have been felled to quench that man's thirst for books. He seems to be doing well. In his element. I don't know. Which is just the way I like it just now. Perhaps I'll just stick a pin in a map and see what I find, or head to the docks in the morning and scrounge a berth to find somewhere new. I'd like to see the islands, maybe, or head south to Arm. I heard there's an enclave of werecats that hunt the followers of dark gods by moonlight. I'd love to see if there's any truth to that. But enough about me. What have you been up to? Don't be a stranger.
You have managed to survive without me.
Hello again.
A welcome surprise. So, here we are. A gathering of allies at a cold campsite with no servants to attend us and few luxuries to enjoy. Ah, we could have been conquerors. We could have ruled these realms as gods. Do you ever regret that we did not take control of the Netherbrain? You may be right, but I cannot help but wish we had tried. That is in the past, though. Regrets are of little value, unless they are fuel for future victories. Few mortals have stood against gods and monsters as we have, and lived to tell the tale. We can write our own stories now, and leave our mark on these realms. I feared that returning to the Underdark as an apostate of Lolth would be an act of madness. Perhaps it was. If so, It is a madness that fits me well. Rebels swarm to my cause, and even if it takes centuries, I will reclaim my house in Menzoberranzan. And make the Spider Queen bleed.
All this stimulating conversation leaves you hungry. To speak is not enough. You wish to explore the brain of your friend with your beak. With all Minthara's hate, you wonder if her cerebrospinal fluid will be bitter to sip. This is highly illogical. There are plenty of other craniums awaiting your suction. And this is a prize ally. And besides, this brain before you, its endorphins are in a joyous flow. It is a wonderful scent. The odor of friendship.
Just to get
I fear I am becoming a...
Well, well. Look what the Tressim dragged in. Professor Gale Decarius of Blackstaff Academy. Educator of the esteemed School of Illusion. A pleasure to remake your acquaintance. I did offer, as a matter of fact. However, the Blackstaff insisted I couldn't teach every subject, nor could the simulacra of myself I offered to create for that purpose. So I've settled for teaching the art of illusion. Magic to confound the senses, to render the impossible into reality, and to allow expression of that most magical attribute of all, imagination. I fear my students find me somewhat intimidating due to my, explosive former reputation. I seem to put the fear of the gods into them. Or the fear of Mystra, to be more specific. I surrendered the crown of Karsus to her, as I told you I would. And in return, she cured me of the orb at last. Even now, I struggle to put the feelings into words. It was like exhaling for the first time after holding my breath for so very long. Of course, I haven't clarified with my students that the orb is no longer a threat. The legend of my explosive capabilities is an excellent means of controlling a classroom. Too good, if anything. I spend most of my time trying to convince them how much fun the study of magic can be. But it'd be easier to crack a smile on an intellect devourer than some of my pupils. Smiling may no longer come easy to you, but I've seen how your tentacles twitch at my jokes. Even the ones I'm not entirely certain I was trying to make. Still, I hoped my students might be a little more open to the playful side of such magic. Oh, they try their best, of course, when they can manage to stay awake. And what of you? What are you making of this newfound lease of life we earned? Living life to the full, even as an Illithid. Inspirational stuff. I've told my students plenty of tales about our escapades. You're something of a hero to them, you know? I'll be delighted to introduce you to my current cohort as a guest lecturer, perhaps. I'm sure they'd have plenty of questions for you. Never fear. My students are as open-minded and generous a bunch as you'll find north of the Chiontha. And I'll remind them of their manners. Of course, you'll be most welcome to stay with me in my tower. It will give us plenty of time to catch up on your adventures. I'm very curious to know what you've been up to these past months. But I suspect the telling of that tale would keep you tied to me all evening. So, in the spirit of selflessness, I encourage you to mix and mingle for now, with time enough to come.
Oh, right. You. Hello. You helped Mr. Dakarios save Baldur's Gate from the Absolute, isn't that right? And you made significant sacrifices to your well-being by the looks of things. Yes, I'm sure you are. You ought to come visit myself and Gale when you're able. If you can extract yourself from whatever responsibilities mind flayers might have. We'll send word by pigeon when we've need of you. I used to have a taste for them, but a great many things have changed in recent months. Ta-ta, darling.
Nice to return to familiar environs.
Well, look who it is. At least I assume it's you in there. You squids all basically look the same. So, tell me, what have you been doing since this, travesty? A purely selfless act, I'm sure. After all, you only want what's best for Baldur's Gate. Just as I do. Of course. I've tried to taste everything this world has to offer. It has been a joy. I've been rediscovering what it means to be alive. More or less. Cazador's mansion has become my palace, and played host to every kind of banquet and soiree and masquerade imaginable. And of course, has seen its fair share of hedonism, clandestine deals, and the occasional disappearance. Whatever it takes to build up my influence over those who matter. I'm spinning my web. Power grows slowly, but I have nothing but time now. Oh, I wouldn't say ruler. Any old fool can sit on the throne. I would be more of a puppet master. For all my freedom to walk in the sun, it's still much more fun to pull the strings of power from the shadows. Not that everyone's on board, of course. Our friend Will is a stubbornly capable Grand Duke. It's been difficult to get much past him, although I will keep trying. But the important thing is I am doing wonderfully. Finally having a life that's worth living. And who knows what's next? There's an entire world out there, ready for the taking. You know, I did miss you. You were never afraid to stand up to me. Now, almost everyone is. We did share a wonderful adventure, you and I. A pity to see it end in some ways. But we have great new lives stretching out before us. And great new adventures to go on. I will never forget the time we spent together, though. And I know you'll never forget me. Until next time, darling.
You would think someone of my vintage would be inured to the passage of time. Yet these past 6 months have seemed endless without your company. But now, our paths cross once more. Perhaps that is so for you, but for me... It may be that a peaceful life after so many years of tumult has made me sentimental. I dwell upon what we shared. That bond was forged in a crucible that can never be stoked again, Oak Father willing. It is a bond that can weather any distance, any passage of time. I know it can, for I feel the longing for old friends in my heart each day. You are right, of course. I am accustomed to dwelling on the past, even when it brought me nothing but unhappiness. You changed that, and gave me the most precious of memories. Now the task is to make yet more of them, so that each reunion shall be all the sweeter. And who's to say we need to make such gatherings a rare occasion? My hearth is yours to warm yourself beside always. Now, we have much to catch up on. Do not allow me to ramble on. I am eager to hear all you've been doing. Please, spare no details. I shall not lie. I have an ulterior motive in wishing to hear all. It is the children, you see. My charges. Their appetite for bedtime tales is greater than I could ever have anticipated. Another story, Daddy Halsin. Another is the chorus that greets me each nightfall. They have all but exhausted my repertoire in but a few short months. No mean feat given the lifetime I have lived. I desperately need new material, please. My reputation is at stake. I am all ears, though I never cared for that phrase. A rather unsettling image. I see. Perhaps the children can learn something from your ambition in the face of adversity. Thank you. Now, it would be cruel of me to hoard you all to myself for the evening, as much as I would like to. I shall leave you to the others for now, unless there was anything else. Before you go, I have something for you. Just a little keepsake, really. Do you remember how I told you I like to whittle? I made this. Ducks are my favorite, but I thought they were particularly fitting in this case. They are migratory birds, of course, traveling far and wide with the turn of the seasons. Yet, they always find their way back to where they belong. Just like old friends find themselves back in each other's company. Oh, I am well aware, trust me. Now, I've taken up enough of your time. Go on, enjoy the festivities.
There you are. Gods, it's good to see you. Tentacles and all.
hold on a moment. Do you smell that?
You take in every scent the night breeze carries. Sweet honeysuckle, tender violets, and an earthy fragrance you can't quite recognize.
Forest trees draped in moss. Bittersweet, smoky, and that faintest hint of vanilla. Reminds me of the Wilden Oak, the oldest and most storied tree in all of the Sword Coast. I haven't visited since the Absolute fell. Turns out, rebuilding a city requires more than a simple wave of a duke's hand. Bargains must be made. Alliances must be forged. Customs must be considered. Father leaves me to my own devices, though he's got no shortage of advice when I ask for it. Mizora's kept me on a long leash, if you can believe it. She hasn't ordered any murder sprees or any diabolical errands, but she insists on joining diplomatic missions in human guise. Her beauty and bargaining talents have even been a boon. Neverwinter's lord denied me a boat full of his finest masons, till Mizora pressed her lips to his ear. A whisper breathed, a bargain made. Whatever her game, I'm bound by her rules. My future'll never be fully my own. But I'll fall on my own blade and join the blood war in an instant, should Zariel's hell's touched fingers stretch towards Baldur's Gate, and Mizora knows it. I've had more than a few challenges, given the horns sprouting from my head. The people know me as one of the champions who saved their beloved city. They know Ravengard blood flows through my veins. The patriarchs, the aristocracy, the councils of Waterdeep and Arm, their arms aren't so wide open. Still, there's no friction that can't be greased with a sly promise or a proposition. Father's back in his element, commanding the flaming fist with as brave a heart as ever, and delivered them nary a scolding nor lashing. The likes of Gortash can bend people's minds with a few chosen words. No tadpole needed. Bane's Chosen primed the fist for a war they weren't meant to win. He convinced them there was an assassin hiding in every shadow, that cruelty was the correct answer to crisis. With a few exceptions, Father's pardoned every last fist. If my forgiveness not be Tyr's will, so be it. I shall forgive them all the same. His words, not mine. He still believes in the bow and the blade, but with Floric's help, he's teaching the fist a new lesson. Valor is found not in the wounds you inflict, but in the lives that you have bettered. May they all take it to heart. Disbanded, to be formed anew. I don't expect a soldier or street sweeper to see through the schemes of a tyrant like Gortash, but the city's lords and ladies were all too eager to abandon their oaths and bend the knee. My father, Older Ravengard, is now Grand Duke of the Triad, Keeper of the Fist. Floric is now Grand Duke of the Crossing, the face of devotion. And I am Will Ravengard, Grand Duke of the Worm, Heart of the Gate. We will yet be four. Until such time and after, we will enact the will of the People's Parliament. Baldur's Gate is nothing without its citizens, both in the upper and lower. Our duty is to them, and only them. The jewel of the coast will shine ever bright, welcoming the weak and the weary from wherever they hail. We are building new housing, not just shanties, but homes where families can rest their heads, plant gardens, pursue happiness. Amazing what can be done when Parliament and the Council pressure the upper city elites to open their coffers. I'm sure the Silver Shields can make do without a few more jeweled crowns. Of course. I've missed you too. The rush of battles we fought, the heart-to-hearts, the nights around the fire, the comfort of knowing I didn't face the unknown alone. If I had to do it all over again, and I'd rather not, to be clear, I can't imagine not having you at my side. Go on, the night's young. You shouldn't waste a moment of it. Or waste a single drop of wine for that matter. I plan on downing half a bottle myself. Oops, did I say half a bottle? I meant half a dozen.
So who lava wine?
Well now, you can make yourself presentable when you have a mind to. Your higher form has brought with it some higher manners, then. An unworthy one. Forgive me. I am simply excitable. It is good to be out under an open sky once more. My first, since the reconstruction began. We left quite a mess behind. But the city begins to look something like itself once more. Same twisting alleys for purse pickers. Same wooden buildings ready to get burnt by next year's dragon. Same cisterns overflowing. Huh. The upper city has been almost entirely rebuilt. That's where the gold is. Even the builder's scaffolds are cleared from the streets. No dust left to sneeze at. Baldurians simply get on with it. Stubbornness, civic spirit, plain stupidity. Perhaps all three, but nothing I will sniff at any longer. Harpers have come from half the world over to lend aid. Farmers, masons, healers. My own son, Jord, has been wooed to their ranks. Already he plans crop cycles in Worm's Crossing. Not so for my daughter. Ryan's rejoined the Flaming Fist. Temporarily, you understand. To organize the craftsmen. Though she spends more time locking up comrades for pocketing aid funds. They might learn a thing or two if they don't expel her. Again. There is still much to do. People to house. A Harper network to rebuild. I may have little love for this city, but so long as my family chooses to serve it, I can do no less. The Harpers welcome any into their ranks, so long as their soul is willing. You've proven you have one, mind flayer or no. I have lived many lives. It is only right you be allowed to live another. Take this. There is, usually a ceremony. Reciting of oaths, singing of songs. I'm sure we'll get to all of that as the drinks flow. For now, I give you only the most simple Harper creed. To look for the light, and watch always for the dawn. But to enjoy the night while we have it, huh? Now, before this night grows any deeper, I must inspect the refreshments. You'll never know. Some ne'er-do-well might have tampered with the wine.
Breathe deep, Boo! The smell of heroes sings from every stone in this place. To meet again where your journey began, my friend. An honor. For Minsk and his hamster both. Oh, and for Happy also.
Yes. Honored, of course.
See how your very presence snatches the breath from his chest? And it is no wonder. It is just this day that Happy learned of your legend, while we gazed down upon the very city you saved.
He dangled me from the high hall, upside down, for 2 hours.
The guild should not go creeping in high places if they do not have the stomach for them, hmm? It is well for Happy the strange portal appeared when it did. Minsk's arm was growing achesome. That it has. Minsk once idled away a century in stone, but he and Boo have been busy in these months since we parted. 9 Fingers forbade any looting of the Illithid's fleshy vessels, and so Minsk guards what remains of the battle site, even from her. But where Minsk might once have thrown any sneaking scoundrels from the tower top, now I tell them of you. How you ruled the wickedness within. How they might do the same.
Yes, I'll rule it. I'll be better.
Oh, of course. It is still for Boo to decide if they live or die.
Oh, gods.
But enough, my friend! I cannot tell your tale if I do not know the whole of it. Minsk and Boo would know where you have been, what you have done. Boo has been admiring the sheen of goo upon your slimy form. He says it twinkles in the starlight. Now, halfling, Boo will not have you embarrassing him in front of his friends, so you ought to know the rest of the company you keep. Will Ravengard, the Blade of Frontiers, Devil-Horned and Angel-Hearted. Lord Astarion, as murderous a monster as any I've known. But you are safe from his teeth. He is unlikely to stoop and split those fine trousers of his. Shadowheart. 2 gods tugged at her soul, but she managed to keep it all for herself in the end. Wait, Boo, did she do something with her hair? Halsin, Archdruid of Arch... somewhere. He is a much better man than he smells. And there is an absence. Karlach, who would have been the heart of this celebration, had she not lost her heart in turn. Saving your city was her last act in this life. Which is why Minsk will make sure the guild honors her, yes? Study them well, sneak thief. For the best among them will be a guide for your guild. Heroes who put the city before themselves, who never falter in their duty. And more than this, who never arrive to a party without even a gift for the host.
But wait!
Go, my friend. Be among our friends. There is much work yet to be done before this one is fit to join them.
Thou feelst it still. She is not here. She who means the most. Hast thy thoughts been with brave Karlach often? it is not. In but a dozen 10 days, an entire life was lived. More than mortal years. Mortal centuries were hers. Her life, her happiness was you. Thy life was hers for a while. It is now thine again. Live it well. In the fugue plain, her soul burns so bright, it pains the gods to look upon. Recall that in time all changeth and all is rejoined. Thou shalt be with her again. What indeed? Prick up thy ears and listen. The balance of the world restored. The balance of these lives, mortal and otherwise, brought to account. Hear me, thou heroes, wastrels, friends. I have waited long to tell you these words. It is over. For now. Thou played thy part in weaving the fabric of fate itself, but for every thread you sewed, so did the gods unravel another. Sleep, rest, revel, but be ready, for thou mayst yet be needed. Until we meet again, I wish thee every possible fortune, health, wealth, love, and above all, problems worth solving. To you.